Hi YouTube, my name is Rachel. I'm a full-time stained glass artist. Some of you might know me from TikTok. I started posting 1 minute long stained glass tutorials back in November of 2019. And it's just, I find that 1 minute is not enough to explain everything that I need to explain. People still ask questions all the time on my videos, so I wanted to go ahead. People have been asking me for so long to come onto YouTube, so I'm finally doing it. We're making our YouTube videos, and our first video today is going to be everything that you are going to need to start doing stained glass. I started learning how to do stained glass just over a year ago now, and when I first started, there was like no good information on YouTube. There were maybe 3 people on YouTube that were posting tutorial videos. One guy, his were like my favorite because they were so descriptive and they were so helpful. But generally for like the very beginning stuff, I never was able to find anything like these are the tools you need and these are kind of what they do. There was none of that. My first project took me almost 3 months to finish because not only did I have a hard time finding any information about it, but I had like mega anxiety and I just like couldn't get over it. I hope this video will help you figure out what you need, and then I'll also provide some information on a really good starter kit, because usually beginner kits where they just put everything together for you is a really easy kind of no-brainer way of doing things. They're usually a pretty good value, but I know that there's probably ways that you can get things cheaper, like going on eBay and getting like a used grinder, for instance. So there's ways that you can help cut costs in case cost is kind of an issue for wanting to get started. So without further ado, let's get into everything that you are going to need to start your stained glass journey. So something I want to go ahead and get out of the way is that I do not have very cute hands. This hobby is very hard on your hands. You get a lot of cuts, there's a lot of stuff going on. My camera wasn't really working with me, but the tips of all of my fingers are very calloused. They're very cut up. My cuticles are not cute, but my focus is my art and not how cute my hands are. So before anyone says it, I know I have little ugly hands and I'm okay with that. If you do this hobby, if you do this as a hobby or a job, it's gonna tear up your hands. So just be aware of that. Just know and expect that, and it's okay. So here's every angle of my hands so you can get it out of your system and see what it all looks like. There's my hands. Now let's get on with the rest of it. Before we even get into any of the actual stained glass tools, I recommend having band-aids and a pair of tweezers at your workbench. You are going to be working with stuff that's going to be splintering everywhere, and I have gotten more glass splinters and more cuts in the last year than I ever thought possible, so just make sure you have those on hand. Next up, in the vein of safety gear, you also want to make sure you have safety goggles. I don't care how experienced you are or how long you've been doing this, you're always going to have something happen where the glass just doesn't break the way that you think it's going to, and there's going to be glass that shatters and goes everywhere. So just make sure you have these, please. Not even for just cutting, just make sure you have them for soldering, for everything. Please wear your safety glasses, please. Also important for safety gear is your glovies. I use these, a lot of like the surgical and latex gloves are not available right now, plus like I don't really need them that badly. I just use these food gloves, and I only use them really one time. You're only supposed to use them one time, but these are absolutely necessary while you're using chemicals, especially like for the patina. Every stained glass project starts with the design itself. Now there are plenty of free designs that you can find online. I personally prefer to draw up all of my own designs, so I'll share with you the programs that I use as well as the tools that I have to help facilitate that. The main programs that I use are Clip Studio Paint Pro, and I use a Wacom Intuos 4 drawing tablet that I've had since, I don't know, I was in high school. They're both really good. You can find both for super cheap. Clip Studio Paint Pro you can get on sale for $25 sometimes, and a Wacom Intuos 4 you can usually find used on eBay for a decent price as well. You're of course also going to need a printer. I started out with a Canon TS some number, I don't know, printer, which is mostly for photos, and then it broke, and I had to get a Brother printer because that was all Best Buy had, and it has been working just fine, so I'm pretty happy with it. The other program that I use is something called Rapid Resizer. I paid about $12 for 3 months of usage from this, and I really enjoy it. It's something that helps you blow up the picture to, you know, if you want it to be 15 inches, you can specify that you want it to be 15 inches wide. So it's been pretty good investment, and I really enjoy using it. Now that we've gotten through all of that, our safety gear, all that good stuff, I wanted to go over the very basics, which is what I use to cut my glass on. This is just a 12 by 12 piece of corkboard, although I will be upgrading to this like waffly grid creator board stuff, which I'll show you right now for my future setup. For the actual pattern itself, I will print it onto cardstock, and this is where there's the most variability in my opinion as far as technique goes. I will print it out on cardstock, cut it out with scissors as well as an X-Acto knife, and then, wow, an X-Acto knife, look at that. I'll actually trace the pattern on with Sharpie. Now, I used to use only black Sharpie, and then I recently purchased some new metallic gold Sharpies, or metallic Sharpies in general, and they are the best. They're water resistant. Using just a plain black Sharpie is not the best. It comes off super easily. Most of the Sharpie will come off whenever you're grinding, but just in case there's any straggling bits, I will use Magic Eraser. Check out how tiny and pathetic these little Magic Erasers are, but it takes the Sharpie off just fine. Once you have your pattern on your glass, then you're going to need to actually cut it. So that's where your scoring tool or cutting tool comes in. Any sort of cutting tool by the brand Toyo is going to be extremely high quality. The handle itself might not be that good, but what you're really paying for is that cutter piece on the end. It's gonna last a really long time, and I paid about $35 for mine. And while the handle itself broke, as you can see, this part just broke right off. I'm pretty heavy-handed, so it's not that surprising. While that part broke, the rest of it is still working just fine. So definitely get a Toyo cutter. Technically, my cutter was called a custom grip with that little black piece that fits in the nook of your thumb and your index finger. The other options are pencil grip, which is what mine has become, or a pistol grip. If you notice that all of these cutter tools are hollow, you're also going to need to get glass cutting oil to put inside of them. This oil, oh look, you put it in there and it fills up the little reservoir. This oil is what lubricates the little rolly wheel cutter thingy at the end, so it's really important, so make sure you get this too. Once you have your score line in the glass, you're going to need to break it. So that's what these pliers are for. These are breaking pliers, also called grossing pliers. They have a curved part on the bottom, which is the actual grossing part. That's like a separate technique that I'm going to make a video on in the future, but just know that those are going to be your main pliers for breaking, and I make a little breaking motion. You're also going to want to have some running pliers, which are going to come up right now. They normally have silicone caps at the end. Mine are missing them, and I just kind of improvise and use a washcloth to kind of protect the glass. But you're gonna line up your score line with that line that's in the middle. It's usually for big pieces, like giant pieces of glass, or little tiny guys that you can't get leverage on. I also like to just have normal pliers in case that I need to just hold something, a really tiny piece, or, you know, just whatever I might need it for. I like to have them on hand. Once you have all your pieces cut out, we're going to need to smooth them down so the foil will stick properly. The grinder I have is an Inland Wizling CG, silliest name ever. Mine, as you can see, has room for 2 grinder bits. The bigger one goes at the bottom, and there's a smaller diameter up top. A lot of grinders are going to have this, will have room for a second level like this, which is good for smaller pieces. You can see the little water reservoir up there as well, so it's really good for those little itty bitty guys. I work with a lot of small pieces, so I have to have this. I also have this magnifying light up top. It's really dirty, I know. It's just a never-ending battle that I deal with. And then I also like to keep my grinder in this box. It prevents that splash that you see around the edges from going on my walls and all over the room. and then I like to have a towel hanging or just kind of with my grinder. That way I can dry off my pieces and see how they're gonna fit. Something else I want to add is you might want to consider getting grinder coolant for your grinder. This is going to help preserve the life of your grinder bit, and you only have to use a little bit. I use a capful per gallon of water. Once I'm done smoothing all my pieces down, I'll actually take them and give them a little bath and rinse off all the edges. There's a lot of glass dust that will accumulate on those edges, which will make the foil tape not stick properly. I have my copper foil in this peppermint bark tin, but I usually just keep my overstock in here. There's going to be 3 main sizes of copper foil tape, with the most common and the one that you're going to use the most being 7/32. Different glass has different widths, so that's why you're going to need different sizes of copper foil. 1/4 inch is going to be the largest, and then 3/16 of an inch is going to be your smallest copper foil tape. I really don't use 3/16 that much, and I definitely don't use 1/4 inch almost at all. So your 7/32, that's going to be your bread and butter. There are also differences in the backing color of the foil. There's black backed, copper backed, and silver backed. Now I only use black because all of the glass that I use is really opaque. It's really important that if you're using transparent glass that you have the foil that matches the color of whatever your solder is going to be, whether you're going to patina it and make it copper or you're going to keep it silver. It just really makes it look nicer when the backing of the foil matches the patina. For my active copper foil, I have this little caddy that you can use to organize all of the different foil sizes that you have, and I find that this is a really nice way to keep everything organized while you're foiling. What you saw earlier was just my backstock. After foiling, you're going to need to burnish everything. I don't know why I didn't get any video or pictures of my own burnishing tools. They're either called burnishing tools, lathe-kins, or fids. A fid. There are 3 main types that I've seen, one of which is this roller ball that has a kind of flat part on the end. I don't care for this that much. The next kind has this kind of curved flat part on one end and then like this wedge on the other for opening up your lead came. And then finally, the most simple one is just this stick with flat edges. This is my favorite actually, and it's the cheapest. So I have all of them, multiples of all of them. You'll just kind of have to see which one you prefer. So theoretically at this point, you should have all of your pieces cut, smoothed out, foiled, burnished. So next step is going to be soldering. The soldering iron that I have is the Hakko FX 601. There you can see the little name. It's pretty decently priced. I think I got mine for about $70. It's temperature controlled, which is the best part about it. The one that I had was just like a hobbyist's no name, no brand, and it was just terrible. It took forever to heat up. This one is super fast. Really important too is to get an iron stand. You do not want to be putting your iron on the table. You're gonna set everything on fire. So just make sure you get a stand too. You're also going to need something to clean the tip off while you're soldering. I am super simple and I just use this old sponge, and then while I'm soldering it is wet. There are professional like tip cleaners that have steel wool in them, so it's whatever you prefer. I just find that this is like a really simple method to clean the tip. It's not too expensive. So for your soldering, you're going to need your actual solder. The most common type for stained glass is going to be 60-40. That's 60% tin and 40% lead. So it normally comes in a 1-pound roll like this. There's a few different brands. This is Amerway. It's okay. You'll just kind of have to see what your favorite kind is, and each brand varies in pricing. So there it goes, finally focused. 60-40 you can see up there. There's also 50-50, but I don't know how, I haven't purchased that before, so I don't know how it flows. 60-40 is known for being really easy to work with. Something very important to note about solder itself: don't make jewelry with solder that has lead in it. You need to buy specifically a lead-free solder, so please keep that in mind. Do not make necklaces with 60-40 solder, don't make earrings, none of that. You're also going to need flux in order to solder. I use this gel flux and I really like it. You don't really need that much, and then I just use this brush. I don't throw my brushes out, I just clean them, and I find that it doesn't really affect my work. So you're gonna need your solder, and then this is the little tin that I use. It's just like an old chapstick tin. The flux is what allows the solder to flow, and it also does other stuff like remove oxidation, but you need flux. That's all you should know. You need flux, and that's the only way that you can solder. Once you're done soldering, you're going to need to remove your flux. I use CJ's flux remover. I've also been told that you can use Dawn dish soap, and I just use this kind of flux removing specific sponge. I'll use the rough side if I'm going to be doing a copper or black patina. If I'm going to keep the patina silver, then I'll just use the softer side of the sponge. But you do need to have a way to remove the flux, so either get the flux remover or the dish soap. Next step is going to be our patina. So the two different types of patina there are for lead and leaded work is copper and black patina. This is what's going to turn your solder from silver into either copper or black. These are dangerous chemicals. Please use gloves when you're handling anything with these chemicals. Please wear goggles. And I would also say if you are by a window, please have some ventilation and keep it open. This is like the most sketchy part of the process. And then for putting on the patina, I just use an old rag, and then I just wash the rag in between use. Some people use Q-tips. You can if you want. It takes forever. I just use an old washcloth that is patina specific. I just wanted to quickly add that I also use the flux remover to remove the patina. So some people do a dry clean where they use a rag and just remove the patina with a rag and Q-tip. I will usually just do like a second bath with that flux remover. Once you've done everything that I've described up to this point, you're going to need to polish it with some wax. So this is like a proprietary blend of the stained glass store I go to. I'm still trying to pick their brain and see what this is. There are products that you can buy that are glass, wax, polish, whatever, that are stained glass specific. All you have to do is kind of drip it on there. I'll spread it out with this cloth, and then once the wax dries, then you'll kind of buff it and it'll make everything super shiny and it'll protect it from oxidation. Now, when I first started doing stained glass, I used to just buy pre-made jump rings, but then recently I bought this tinned copper that's very malleable, and I will form it in order. I have like these little jewelry pliers, and I'll kind of curl it up, and that's how I make all of my jump rings, which I solder on. As you can see here, this is my little container, and I make different sizes. I usually use a Sharpie for my bigger sizes like that. And that's what I use. The cool part about that too is that the jump rings that you can buy at like Joann's, they will not stain either black or copper, but if you buy this stuff, it will turn the color of whatever patina you're using. I also have these lead nippers, which are really good for cutting this wire, or if you're going to use lead cane, they're good for that as well. Also going to talk about that in a different video. So finally, the last things that you're going to need are something to actually attach to the eyelets that you've soldered on. So you can either get chain. I have this jack chain that you can find in like the picture hanging section of Walmart or wherever. I also use hemp cord that I'll braid to help make it extra strong. Again, I'm just using these jewelry pliers, and then potentially if you're going to make a bunch of stuff, I would also just get some suction cups from Amazon, or Walmart has some too, wherever you want to get them from. Alright, so that's pretty much everything that you're going to need to start doing stained glass. I pretty much just covered the basics, and I tried to be as non-overwhelming as possible while still giving enough detail to explain everything. So I hope that all of that information helps you in beginning your stained glass journey. As I had mentioned in my intro, there are beginner kits that put everything together for you. You don't even have to think about it. I will link some of those below. They also help you save some money, but it's just kind of up to you what you end up doing or what you want to do in the beginning. The other option too is I sometimes sometimes will suggest if you're kind of on the fence and you don't know, maybe look into taking some classes. There's honestly more stained glass studios than you think there are, and if you live in a big city, there's a good chance that there's going to be a studio somewhere within driving distance of you that is going to offer classes. So some places will offer classes and all you have to do is pay for the glass that you use. Other places you'll have to buy all of the materials. It just kind of depends place to place. So give them a call, see if they're currently having any classes, and then see if there's any openings. So I hope all that information helped you, and I will see y'all in the next video. If you thought this video was helpful, please leave a like and maybe consider subscribing. I will be posting more regular videos. I'm still kind of a baby with editing, so I still don't really, I'm learning, but I'm trying to get my hands on it, and I'm gonna try to get everything out as quickly as I can. So like I said, I hope you enjoy, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!